How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the last week of the course. I wanted to use slides, that way I could keep everything organized and also post these for your reference on the course site. So I'm sure the thing that the majority of you care about is how your actual grade will be computed. So I changed this a little bit from what I said on week one. It actually becomes more favorable for you if you go back and see. What I'd like to do is allocate your grade into 3 chunks. The discussion boards, which basically I'm sure the majority of you noticed, as long as you did them and stayed up to date, they were really just a way for me to get feedback from you to see if I could improve anything and make your learning experience as good as it could be, given that we're trying to do a hard course in 6 weeks, totally online and asynchronous. So hopefully that's an easy 15% for everyone. I'm going to take all of your homeworks. They're not going to be weighted equally. They're going to be weighted according to the points assigned to each assignment. I'll add up all the possible homework points. I'll take how many you got and divide by the total number of points. That'll give me a percentage that you received on the entire homework. And then that will be weighted by 45% in your final grade. So hopefully between those two things, 60% of the grade will be largely things that weren't overly high stakes. And then the other 40 are going to be based upon exams. And we have 3. We had exam 1, exam 2, and the final exam. I'll talk about those all in a minute. But the key thing I want to emphasize here is whenever I talk about an exam score, I'm talking about the score in my lab along with the individual score on the work that you submitted. So remember the way that I graded that last time. Basically, as long as you showed decent work, I gave you full credit on that. For those of you that showed extraordinary work, I gave you a little bit of extra credit as well. So as I mentioned previously, what that graded work portion allows you to do is grade the score, raise the score rather, that's in my lab. So I'm going to take and compute. Currently, if you notice, I have the little asterisks. I'm planning to weight all those evenly. I haven't seen the exam 2 scores yet. Of course, I haven't seen the final exam scores yet either. So if it turns out that one of these is just atrocious, I might do like one of these drop the lowest kind of. I don't want to commit to anything yet. So know that the worst it will be is equal weighting of each. So you'll have the exam 1, exam 2 total scores, and those are going to feel similar to each other. And then the final exam, which you'll see is a little bit different. It'll feel more like a homework, and it's going to be broken into 2 parts. So on the final exam, there are going to be no time restrictions. So exam 1 and 2, you only had, I think it was a 2-hour window. I don't think the majority of you used that. The other big difference between the final exam and the 2 exams previously is all of the problems I already have videos up kind of for the portion of the exam that I have posted, showing you how to set the problem up. So the way that you want to kind of approach the final exam is watch the lecture videos that I post. Each lecture video largely, like for example, there's 2 problems on the final that are extensions of the second part of chapter 6, a method of sections problem and a machines problem. So watch those video lectures. I kind of take a longer video, 10 to 15 minutes, set the general concept up, and then do a 10-minute video where I actually set the problem up for you. And if you kind of work through those, what I would try to do if I were you is work through them with me and then try to finish them off, keep that off to the side, and then that's the work that you can turn in. So you won't have to redo that at all. And ideally, you could even be ready to submit the problems into my lab beforehand. Let me backtrack on that a little bit. That won't work perfectly because the values, again, are going to be randomized just to try to be fair and avoid any potential academic integrity concerns. But at minimum, you can take that work that you have written, kind of watching me go to your problem. You don't have a time restriction, so just recopy it and change the numbers and just finish it off. So one of the things I decided to do, since we need to cover about 8 problems rather on the final exam, is to break it into 2 chunks. And another reason that I did this is that way those of you that want to get started early this morning have the ability to do it. So part 1 of the final exam is already up. It has 4 questions. 2 are on newer content from chapter 6. What I mean by new content is anything after method of joints. So we did method of joints on exam 2. This will be method of sections and analysis of machines. And then 2 problems from chapter 7, particularly computing the internal forces within a beam and then drawing shear and bending moment diagrams. So in addition, we'll have a second part that covers some content from chapters 8 through 10. I'm not going to commit yet to how the questions will be allocated from chapters 8 to 10. And in fact, it might not even be 4 total. I might make this 3. I kind of want to look through the content one more time and kind of determine what I think is the most important for dynamics and strength of materials, which is where these problems are really important. So definitely we'll have one on actually computing a centroid through integration. We'll have one of these moment of inertia problems, which is very important for strength of materials. And then a friction problem, which of course, many of you have seen before in physics classes, but will be important when we move to dynamics. So in terms of the grading timeline, what I'd like to do today is the 9th, I think. Yes, it is the 9th. So if in 2 days from now, you can have all your discussion board and homeworks up. What I'll do that evening is I'll take an average of your performance on the discussion board and homeworks. I'll create a new column in Canvas that says average discussion board grade and average homework grade. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you something that you can multiply by 15% directly to compute your final grade for discussion board. For homework, multiply by 45%. I'll also give you kind of the total, if I haven't put it in yet, exam 1 and exam 2 scores that include your MyLab scores, which I'll go in and correct if there's any errors, and your written handwork that you turn in. So you're already going to know what the majority of your grade looks like, ideally by Wednesday. And this should not necessarily say 80%. I will edit this when I post, but I changed the allocation a little bit. So what would it be? It would be 60% plus 40 divided by 3. So not quite 80, but close to 80. Right? It's a little early in the morning. Yeah. So anyways, in addition, in terms of putting your final grade up, so I have quite a bit of prep to do, as you'd imagine, getting the lecture videos for the second part of the exam up and also the content for the graphics course. So probably through Thursday, I'm going to be pretty swamped. But starting on Thursday evening, any final exams that are in, part 1 and 2, I will start that night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and so on. I will compute your grade on that exam. I'll compute your final grade in the course, and I'll put it on Canvas. So you're not going to have to wait until the last minute in order to see what your final grade is, nor will you have any confusion on how it's calculated, because you'll have individual columns that are used that can be weighted directly using these weights in order to compute your grade. So I hope that made sense for you all. I hope that exam 2 went relatively well, and look forward to wrapping up the course with you all. Have a good week.